To Ben Leo tonight, more front pages have just dropped, including a big one, Bobby Belter, as we call it. Let's start with The Observer, though, first. The headline reads, Royal welcome for Zelensky after White House meltdown. Keir Starmer, it was a stark contrast, wasn't it, to the chaos in the Oval Office yesterday. JD Vance and Trump absolutely berating Zelensky. Meanwhile, in Downing Street, there was hugs, pattings on the back, and I think they went off for a nice posh dinner somewhere as well. The Sunday Telegraph. You are very welcome to number 10, says Keir Starmer. He also said, by the way, I'm going to say this now, he also said that Zelensky, to his face, that he has support of everybody across Britain. I don't know who he's speaking for, because Labour won, what was it, Paul, what percent of the vote? 30-something% of the vote? Less than Jeremy Corbyn. So I don't know why the Prime Minister thinks he can talk on behalf of all Britons, because I'm sure there are some who disagree with
the majority, though, to be fair.
The majority?
The majority.
What, lower votes than Corbyn is the majority, is it?
No,
I rest my case. We move on to the Sunday Times. Rachel Reeves unlocks billions for Kyiv and UK defence. We did just discuss that. Tonight she has announced a loan deal with Ukraine, signing £2.5 billion, just under, worth of loans to Ukraine for the military effort. It's coming, interestingly, from frozen Russian assets in the UK and the diversion of funds towards green projects in the UK. And here's the big one. The Mail on Sunday. Now stop the state's visits for bully, quote-unquote, Trump. Amid the outrage over the US president's humiliation of Zelensky, and as the king hosts Ukraine leader at Sandringham today, Sunday, MPs and top brass demand the state visit offered to Donald Trump this week by Prime Minister Keir Starmer should be rescinded. Top MPs and military brass are calling for it to be taken away. Charlotte Griffiths, who is the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, joins us in the studio now. Charlotte, good evening. Good story. Surprising.
Yeah, quite surprising.
From your lot.
But in the way, possibly from my lot, it's quite surprising. But it also is completely logical, because how can he meet Zelensky today and then go to? He's supposed to be meeting him in Balmoral in Scotland for a pre-state visit get-together,
right,
and then again for another state visit. So it would be completely unfair to require this of the king, because he's being asked to switch his allegiance. We know privately that he really does support Ukraine. He's spoken about it in the past. It makes no sense. He's going to have to stall for time on this one.
So the top brass include former Defence Minister Tobias Ellwood, Linda. Dickie Arbiter, who was a spokesman for the late Queen. Dickie's a very good top royal commentator. I think Dickie's daughter works in the US.
She does. She works for CBS, I think. Yeah. It's one of the American networks. Yeah.
And ex-MI6 head Richard Dearlove. They've all said that Trump's state visit to the UK should be rescinded, Linda.
Oh, I don't know whether it will be rescinded, but Charlotte's right. They have to put some distance here. It will have to.
But it says here, Donald Trump's state visit to Britain should be shelved in the wake of his astonishing White House tirade against Zelensky.
I just don't think it will be shelved. I do think it will be delayed.
There'll never be a moment where the king comes out and says, this has been shelved. Of course, they'll just bury it. They'll kick it into the long grass. But I think what Alicia Kern said is right, which is it's not about currying favour. State visits are for allies, that we've had a long tradition of working with, not to sort of do favours for one another.
Yeah, and the USA is an ally that we've had a very long relationship with. Anybody remember World War II, for example? This is typical of the easily offended acting so immaturely, dangerously and stupidly. Earlier on, I asked for grown-ups to be mature, to take a deep breath, not to knee-jerk react to any of this. And what have we got?
We've got Tobias.
Stop the visit.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
We've got Tobias Ellwood, Richard Dearlove and Dickie Arbiter, Paul Richards, all saying, no, Donald Trump, you are not having a state visit, or at least you shouldn't have one.
I know lots and lots of people who'll be really uneasy about Trump coming. There'll be demonstrations. We might get that enormous blimp. Last time I was on them, and I might be outside.
Hang on, you
this
protested
time
against Trump last time?
Yes, but...
Why did you do that?
Well, because I don't like him as a politician, but I think the state visit should go ahead because, as Peter says, they are our ally. So I don't think this question of banning it is a good one.
I don't think they could possibly.
And he should meet the king.
State visit.
Yeah. No, it's not happening.
Having gone in for this whole performance with envelope, press conference in the Oval, that would look totally ridiculous as far as our monarchy is concerned.
Sources close to Trump are saying it would be very inadvisable and unwise, which is true. I mean, it would be very damaging.
No, we need to put out the red carpet, I'm afraid. That is the reality.
But I think it could be delayed, and I think it should be delayed. And there are numerous reasons why it could legitimately be delayed as well, because the King's, not very well. He's got a gruelling schedule.
And the last thing he needs is to get wrapped up in all this. The Queen not being very well too. I mean, she has been a little bit.
She's been working non-stop. I wouldn't blame her if she needs.
And you could space it out because the Balmoral trip is really a planning trip for the state visit. State visits require a lot of planning, so this could all be spun out over several months. I think, which might help matters.
The bottom line is, 3 blokes had a bit of a tear up in Washington. And that nothing changes nothing. The peace will not be won, negotiated or obtained in the Russia versus Ukraine conflict without the input of the United States. Wake up and grow up, everybody. It was a spat.
Yeah, lots of our viewers tonight, Peter, on your say, applauding you and backing you in your sentiment there. Let me just read you some more colour from this front page story from the Mail on Sunday tomorrow. No date, as Charlotte, you've alluded to, has been set yet for the state visit, but many sources saying it should be put off or at least delayed. Tobias Ellwood, the former Defence Minister, Conservative, he said, it would be inappropriate to place the King in the position of hosting the President if US foreign policy shifts away from its long-standing support for Ukraine and toward alignment with Russia's security objectives. Can I just add, I quite like Tobias Ellwood, he's a friendly guy, but he is the one who also did a Taliban, was it a Taliban tourism video or something? So I'm not sure how much weight his comments there carry. Dickie Arbiter, who was a spokesman for the late Queen, as we've already said, he said, it's difficult to rescind an invitation to an alleged ally of Britain. Charlotte, as you've said, I feel the only option is to stall until such time the government feels it's right. And the ex-MI6 head, Richard Dearlove, has said, they don't have to arrange the state visit straight away. They have to let the dust settle. Trump is that enamoured by the royal family, there's an opportunity to try and rebuild bridges.
Yeah. The other thing to think of is the King. What does the King actually think? We know he's a big supporter of Ukraine. It's just, it's not very fair on him.
Do you see any problem?
That's the job, though, I'm afraid. If you are the head of state, that's the job you've got to do, whether you like them or not.
He's been passed around like a puppet. 1 minute he's in Sandringham with Zelensky, then he's off to Balmoral.
That's why we pay him.
Charlotte, do you see
if he wants to quit the job, I'll do it.
Well, he probably deserves a rest every now and again, but he doesn't allow himself to have one. He works very hard for his money.
Peter, don't give our viewers any ideas. They'll probably support that in their droves. Charlotte, just finally, very quickly, 30 seconds. Do you see any problem in the way the King is getting involved in... I mean, with this letter, I know the government orders it. Now the visit tomorrow with Zelensky. Is there any issue there about creeping into politics?
Well, I think he has in the past spoken out about Ukraine, and we know he has strong opinions, and he used to send out his famous spider letters, but he's obviously, since becoming the monarch, had to wind that down. But we kind of do know, unlike the Queen, the late Queen, we do know his private opinions and his private leanings.
Because it was a lot longer before he came to the throne.
Yeah.
So there's a whole history before, as you mentioned, the spider letters.
Yeah.
There was tons of stuff about carbuncles on the London skyline, etc., and his views on architecture. And we've built an ambient knowledge of what he thinks, whereas we didn't have it with the Queen.
So we can kind of guess where he falls on the Trump, pro-Trump, anti-Trump debate, even though he can never say he's not a big fan of Trump's. I'm pretty sure he would have watched those clips like the rest of us and been pretty annoyed. You can just guess that about him, can't you?
Interesting. Great story on the front of your paper, Charlotte. More papers coming up, including a really interesting story in the Sunday Times. Apparently, young women now, specifically, are consistently earning more than men. So I guess the gender pay gap really is alive and well. But it's just been reversed, of course. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GV News.